2019, just some egregious behavior by the president over the last week. And I know we're so numb to it, right? So numb to it, with this crazy AI retweets of that just blatantly racist attack on Hakeem Jeffries. And it was just a shrug. And then, I go to this whole adult in the room thing because it really does sort of frustrate me. Look, I miss having fun with politics. I talk about this all the time with a lot of my longtime colleagues. I know I've been accused in the past of gamifying politics back in the pre-Obama, in the pre-Trump era. I never saw it as a game, but I also saw it as these were two parties that sort of were at least honorable at the end of the day, and there was honor among thieves. Well, that's completely out the door, right? We know this. It's completely out the door. We're in a different space. We have a broken information ecosystem. We have and it has broken our Congress. We've broken our political infrastructure, and we are in the midst of a political recession that I think is now a crisis. And you could argue we're in a political depression. We've talked about economic recessions and economic depressions. This is a political depression that we're in, right? We have a non-functioning, it's not non-functioning. We have a barely functioning small d Democratic government right now, right? We can't get budgets done on time. Court rulings get ignored. We have a lot of acting this and acting that. So it's not a fully functioning political system that's very healthy at the moment. So we are definitely gone, I think, from recession to depression, if you're using economic words to do that. But the stupid stuff like the Trump 2028 hats to make sure that it was there for their social media posts so they could show the MAGA forces online that they were shit posting the Democratic leaders. It's just classless, right? And there's this entire infusion of classless behavior, right? Pete Hegseth is almost the poster child of this classlessness at times, right? Especially when he pretends to want like decorum, and you're like, really, you more than anybody else have not really modeled the best behavior, but okay, on that front. But just sort of the stupid teenage stuff, the stupid childish pranks, the silly memes, and all of this stuff. It's obnoxious. It really does drive the normies away from paying attention. It is total eye roll. And unfortunately, I do think many on the left have said, well, I guess this is what works. Screw it. And, it goes back to, I don't think if you're going to try to, if the whole, you can't beat them, join them, just remember this. There's no line Trump won't cross. I know there are lines, no matter how much lower you think you're willing to go. I know there are lines the left won't cross, and Trump will cross them. MAGA will always cross them. They will always go much further. And then all of a sudden, it's just like the metaphor. Don't get into a mud fight with a pig, because you're both gonna get dirty, and the pig's gonna enjoy it. There's a reason results matter more than promises. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan has become America's largest injury law firm. For the last 35 years, they've recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. It includes cases where insurance companies offered next to nothing, sort of shortchanging, seeing if they could get away with it. And Morgan & Morgan fought back, and they won millions. In Pennsylvania, one client was awarded $26 million. It was a staggering 40 times the amount that the insurance company originally offered. That offer, $650,000, whatever it took to sort of get away without paying. So with more than 1,000 lawyers across the country, Morgan & Morgan knows how to deliver for everyday people. So if you're injured, you're looking for a lawyer, check out forthepeople.com/ToddCast or dial #law, #529 on your cell phone. And remember, all law firms are not the same. So give Morgan & Morgan a look. Their fee is free unless they win. Look, I sort of blame this crassness I know this is a weird disconnect, but I applaud Tom Watson for apologizing for the behavior of the American golf fans at the Ryder Cup. When he said, I'd like to apologize for the rude and mean-spirited behavior from our American crowd at Bethpage. As a former player, captain, and as an American, I'm ashamed of what happened. Here's the thing. Who's the America's role model for public behavior these days? It's always the president of the United States. In many ways, the president of the United States both sets culture and can be emblematic of our culture at the moment. Our culture is coarse right now. Our culture is rude. Our culture is crass. And the leading figure in our culture is Donald Trump. And what's interesting, I saw I was in at an event where Tom Watson was one of the speakers, and he made a nice plea. He was very close friends with Rush Limbaugh, and he made a nice plea for like, hey, there's some things I don't, like about Trump's behavior, but I do think we need to figure out how to unify better. But those are always the head scratchers to me. I think of Tom Watson as a high character guy. I do. He was my guy growing up. I wasn't a Nicholas fan. I was a Watson guy. My dad wasn't a Nicholas fan, so we were Watson people. Watson was a Midwesterner. I think that's what no, Ohio's not the Midwest for you Ohioans. Ohio's its own thing. It's not the East Coast. It's not the Midwest. And I'll fight you on that. I'm happy to fight you on that, John Kasich. I have kid. Kasich might kick my butt. He's pretty in shape, dude, for that. But in all seriousness, there are some good high character people that find themselves very supportive of Trump sometimes. That it's a head scratcher to me, because I do think his moral compass and his character are collectively giving a permission slip to people to behave like anything goes. And maybe I'm sounding like an old guy in the room, and I guess Gen X now, we're the old guys in the room. But there's some line here, right? There's some line that I thought we were going to agree not to cross, but as Bill Hurt said in broadcast news, well, I hear you about not crossing the line, but they keep moving the sucker. And I do think our line of decorum and of ridiculousness, right, it is sort of being set by Trump and the MAGA online forces. And I would just caution Democrats giving up that slightly higher ground of trying to be the adult in the room. And when you're no longer behaving like the adult in the room, we know they're not behaving like the adult in the room. There's a whole slew of us out here wondering, well, who's going to be the one to mind the store?